Hello fellow humans, welcome to So Threadable. Today we're looking at how to make drawstring bags or wet bags en masse for medical workers. These aren't traditional waterproof bags for swimsuits. The point of this is that healthcare staff can put their day's clothes in here, then tie it closed, tuck the string in, and throw the entire thing in the wash. It's a pretty simple drawstring bag and I'm here to show you how it's done. This is to make use of extra polyester material that isn't suitable for mask making. And if you're having trouble occupying your elementary age kids, they can help to carefully, with supervision, cut or tear the fabric, string the drawstring through, or even help pick out the fabric and patterns. I mean, what else are they gonna do, right? Oh, and this thing here, I had a bunch of scraps left over from making face masks. And I just thought that instead of getting a plain white bag, it'd be nicer to have something to tell which day it is, or if multiple people are getting the same ones, which one is theirs. Just thought it'd be a little nicer to get something a little more personalized. Let's get started. The measurements of the final bag is 18 by 18, so the fabric is two pieces, 18 by 20 each, sewn right sides together. And the upper edge is folded over to make the drawstring casing. Half an inch of difference isn't a big deal here, but let's try to keep this as uniform as possible. Since we're making a lot of these, you're going to want to do some math with your bolt of fabric. You can cut two individual squares, or you can cut and fold one big piece. It can either be long, like this 18 by 40 piece, or wide, like this 36 by 20 piece. And the one I'm using right now is 36 by 20, folded in half along the side. My bolt was actually 70 inches wide, which was perfect for the 36 by 20 pieces, because cut in half, that's 35 inches, and I'm saving the seam allowances on the one side by folding it over. If the bolt was 72 inches wide or similar, I wouldn't worry about it. The difference is very small by the time the fabric's cut, so use your judgment within 1 to 2 inches of the finished product. With your fabric right sides together, pin or mark 2 inches down one of the long edges. This is where you're going to start sewing. Sew the sides and bottom closed, but leave these 2 inches open. Sew with a straight stitch at 1/2 inch seam allowance, and I'm keeping the selvage edge on mine because the polyester is kind of slippery and the selvage provides a non-fraying edge. It's about expediency and efficiency at this point. Then go over it again with a wide zigzag stitch to prevent fraying. Take the 2 inch opening and fold it under twice with a 1/4 inch hem. This hems all the unfinished edges. You can push the seam of the bag to one side to help the casing hem lie flat. Now the last thing we're actually going to sew is the drawstring casing. We're going to fold down the raw top edge by 1/4 inch. And then down another inch so all the raw edges are enclosed. You can iron the 1/4 inch edge first, but since this polyester is creasing so easily, I'm just going to eyeball it. A neat trick if you are going to iron it is to get a piece of cardstock or cereal box, mark a 1/4 inch along one edge, and use that as a guide for ironing. Snip the stray threads after you're done and feel for any loose hanging bits and threads and tear those out. This is bias tape I made from leftover fat quarters. This particular one wasn't cut on bias, but as long as it's sturdy, it shouldn't matter too much. I have linked a good tutorial on how to make bias tape down below. String the drawstring along with a safety pin through the drawstring channel. Polyester is pretty slippery, so it was pretty easy for me to pull through. Hold on to the end of the string you just strung through the bag, and pull to stretch the bag out around the drawstring. Leave a 4 to 5 inch tail, then zigzag or straight stitch it together. You can do it flat like I am, or you can do it in a loop. Now this part is optional, but I like to add a little applique in a fun shape or just a rectangle. It's made from the scrap piles I have left over after making masks. It's just a little something to remind me and whoever ends up with the bag that they're still a person, and they're not just a number or a cog in a machine. Go over the end of the drawstring a couple of times with a zigzag or a straight stitch. I like to use a starter piece of fabric for this, so the needle and presser feet can grab onto something to pull the drawstring through. And for the applique, again, I usually iron the 1/4 seam down, so you end up with one row of stitching, but I'm just gonna go for it here. I'm gonna sew it down once, just the piece of applique, then sewing it onto the bag. And that's it! A bag to donate. Thanks for watching. Make sure you follow all the protocols requested by the organization that's handling the donations. Wash and package them well. Stay safe, stay sane, I'll see you next time. The gravity of the situation's never really hit me, because I've just been so busy sewing and playing Animal Crossing. But everybody who's out there is a mom, a dad, a daughter, a brother, everybody who's dying, everybody who's working and risking dying. So, least we can do is have a little bag where they can write their name, or know that they are still a person, and they're still an individual. And even though they're a small cog in a big machine, we know them. We care about them. You know? And that's how you make a wet bag.